Coming up today on the Locked On Hornets podcast, Josh Giddey agrees to a 4-year, $100 million contract with the Bulls. We find the local angle there. Doug has a trade idea, and I probably don't think we're going to get to who wore it best, number 3. Doug is probably going to figure out a way for us to kick it down the road. We'll see. All today, Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that includes YouTube. There's Doug Branson. You can find him on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. He's also a producer for the very new Yahoo Sports Daily Show with Jason Fitz and Caroline, say it one more time, Fenton. Renford is what I said. I don't know who Caroline Renford is, but Caroline Fenton, that who is a host alongside Jason Fitz. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me on WFNZ alongside my co-host. What's his name again? Wes Bryant. That's right, Wes Bryant. Wes Renford.
Wes Bryant.
Wes Bryant. No, I'm kidding, Wes. It's Wes Bryant. Wes and Walker, Sports Radio 92.7 WFNZ, each weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season, it's here. And right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. Download the FanDuel.com app, FanDuel app, or go to FanDuel.com to get started. You can win $5. If you bet just $5, you can win a lot more than that. I can't promise that you'll win Josh Giddey money after his new contract extension. $25 million annual contract, 4 years, $100 million, Doug. It's a lot of do-re-mi. And good for Josh Giddey capitalizing on his opportunity with Chicago, because it was a weird space he was in down in Oklahoma City. OKC decided to trade him to Chicago for Alex Caruso. I think we all know that's a huge win for what the Thunder were able to do in the postseason. They saved Caruso during the regular season. They deployed the defensive menace that he was, offensively helping you with some of the shooting, and it was just an awesome, awesome acquisition for OKC. I don't know if we would have described the Bulls acquiring Giddy as an awesome acquisition, but it did kind of turn out that way. Like, they didn't know if they wanted to pay him a whole lot of money or not, but post All-Star break, Josh Giddey averaged over 21 points per game, almost 11 rebounds per game, over 9 assists, and 1.5 steals on 50, 46, 81 shooting. Those are actually some crazy numbers. Not just really good, but actually some pretty damn crazy numbers he provided. And yet, when I see that money, I think, don't love it. Don't hate it, but don't love it. I think it's about right. I just don't know I don't know if I would want my team to do that. Thus, the Giddy conundrum. Thus being the first bullet point if you're watching on YouTube. That's where we bring in the Giddy conundrum. What are your thoughts? And we can find the local angle after this. But what are your thoughts on Josh Giddey agreeing to that contract and Chicago, both parties actually agreeing to this contract?
Yeah, it's a really interesting story that could be relevant for the Charlotte Hornets in the future. It's not relevant to them now because of Book Knight and Kai Jones being in that draft class and the Hornets not really having to worry about that. But in the future, they could face the same problem that the Bulls, the Sixers, the Nets were all facing, Kuminga and Golden State, where you have these players that are kind of, they're obviously not max level players, but they're not players that you can sign for a little bit of money because they do contribute in some way in the box score that is significant. They have talent that is significant, and yet they're not really needle movers. Like that's the thing about Josh Giddey. Had a great year, not a needle mover for the Chicago Bulls. And so all of these teams are taking these players to the mat. Why? Because the CBA puts those teams up against the mat in terms of second apron penalties. And so, you're going to face these tough decisions if you draft a player that doesn't exist on the two ends of the spectrum of player that obviously is not going to garner a big deal or player that is obviously a max player. It's this middle class of the NBA salary-wise that's going to continue, I think, to get squeezed until they go into other CBA negotiations. And so, it could be a problem for the Charlotte Hornets when they're talking about Con Knippel someday. If Con Knippel doesn't break out in a way over the next 3 or 4 seasons that makes you go, yeah, obvious max contract player, the Hornets could find themselves in this exact same situation where they're either dealing with the prospect that Oklahoma City was of like, hey, we got to move this guy because there's no room, there's no real roster fit, plus we don't want to give him a bunch of money, or because Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball suddenly hit his all-NBA stride. We want to make sure there's plenty of money to go around to try to retain those guys. Not much left for the Con Knippels of the world, so they could be facing the same problem.
I don't think Josh Giddey is an extremely malleable player. I think that's part of the biggest issue with him. So if you're not a two-way player and you do have to have him serve as this fulcrum of your offense in order for it to be working at its peak with him in the rotation, I think that causes a lot of issues for you. For instance, I think it's the exact opposite for somebody like Con Knippel, where Con is pretty malleable. All you have to do is throw him in there and say, secondary play make at a high level, done. Shoot at a high level. That's exactly why we drafted you, buddy, is because we're hoping in the top 5 that you're going to be a 40% shooter for your career. So that works in a lot of different lineups. But your point is still understood in that it basically, do we feel like you're unequivocally good or not, unequivocally worth this contract that is still a lot of money and a decent percentage of the cap. And so here's the local angle. Let's find all of the players that the Hornets have drafted and figure out how many issues the Hornets might have. Because, okay, Giddy was a part of the 2021 NBA draft class. And the 2021 draft class for us is an all-time worst draft. Kai Jones, James Bouknight, those are your 2 selections. The Hornets made decisions pretty quickly on both of them. Don't have to worry about paying those guys anymore. Next year, they selected Mark Williams and Nick Smith Jr. Nick Smith Jr. still on the team. I don't know how much longer he's going to be on the team. He could be cut. Mark Williams, they made a decision to trade twice. Once it was rescinded in almost unprecedented fashion. And
because
they
didn't want to have those conversations at all with him. And that's what teams are deciding earlier, that, hey, we're not even going to go into these negotiations. We'd rather just move on and keep the books, flexible and know what we know and not have a lot of unknowns there.
Yeah. So speaking of the unknowns, so Mark Williams, they don't have to worry about that anymore. He doesn't play on the team. So the Hornets don't have one of these issues. Next on the list is Brandon Miller. We'll get back to him. Tijan Salon was drafted after Brandon. If you had to bet money, I would say he's not on track to be a $25 million a year player. It's also 1 season in the league. So who knows, man? Still jury out on him. And Con Knippel hasn't even played a game. What are your thoughts on the last 3 guys with Brandon Miller and Tijan Salon, Con Knippel? It seemed like you wanted to start there with Tijan, if you have thoughts there.
Yeah, I think that if Tijan continues to improve and shows promise, then when you get to extension time, you can either do something that is, moderate and short term, puts him back onto the market. If you're like, all right, we're 2 years from understanding what he is. He likes being here. We like having him here. He's satisfied with our development program, 2 years, whatever the dollar amount is, but it's not anywhere near like significant money. I think you can do that. And it's the benefit of taking somebody that was like barely 18 years old coming into that draft, is that you can get to that second contract and it's not automatically like a conversation about how massive it has to be. Brandon Miller, I mean, that's, to me, he's heading towards a max deal if he can get anywhere near the All-Star conversation in the next couple of seasons.
So the max deal stuff is going to be interesting for him, right? Like, do you get to this Jabari Smith place, which there was some Jabari Smith comps with Brandon on somewhat of the lower end, and he got 5 years, $122 million. You had something. That's why I stopped my point. It looked like you were wanting to say something there. What's your point?
I'm always wanting to just say, you know the rules here.
Yeah.
You know the rules. Just keep on going until
okay.
I just
Fair enough.
I just have to make faces
No, that's fine. It seemed like you really had something right there, so I wanted to give you your space. But so that's the question, right? Okay, I'm with you. It seems like Brandon is on track to get a max contract like that, and it's not even like I'm wincing over it. I'm not 100% comfortable with it, but I'm not wincing so much to where I don't want to do it. So the Hornets have to decide at the end of the season if he just blows everybody out of the water and he's awesome, cool. We don't have to worry about anything. If it's a little bit harder to decide, then you have to figure out, maybe we can even stick with the Rockets. Do you go with some type of Jabari Smith contract, 5 years, $122 million? Do you go with a Jalen Green contract where you actually use some of your leverage, you play some hardball? There's a 3-year, $106 million contract, so it's more annually but less years, and then eventually they end up trading him anyway after moving for different stars. I think Jalen, a little bit like the way we were talking about with Josh Giddey and Con Knipple, Jalen Green, I don't think is all that much of a fluid player where you throw him in any system and he just works. I think Brandon, because of the shooting, that's I think the key skill set to have in just throw him in any rotation and he'll work at least a little bit. Those guys are going to bring you a little more value, so you probably wince a little less at throwing a lot of money at those types of players. I do think we could be in store for an interesting conversation with Brandon Miller at the end of this season. But I do think the Hornets are going to exhaust every opportunity to figure it the hell out. Like, we don't want to make the wrong decision here. There are worlds where that could happen. So we're going to give him every opportunity to prove that he is a max type of player. And if he doesn't, then we could be in store for some interesting negotiations between both parties.
And if it doesn't reach max, I just feel like it's so rare for those players that go top pick, don't meet expectations to end up getting the money with the team. I think about Harrison Barnes. Like he 4 years with Golden State, ends up getting his money, $22 million a year off of his rookie extension, but it ended up being with the Mavericks. An exception to that was Will Barton, who I think his rookie extension ended up being with the Nuggets, but he popped off. He wasn't a high pick. It's not the same, but he did get a decent sized deal without it having to be like a massive deal because he was a role player, but he was always expected to be a role player. With Brandon Miller, you're expecting him to be a star. And when it doesn't live up to that, I think that's when those negotiations become difficult. But you bring up the Jabari comp, and I think that is the comp, but that would be, I'm sure a lot of people listening to this would be like, good Lord, please don't let that happen. A lot rides on Brandon Miller actually meet. I mean, this year is huge for him. A lot rides on him starting to meet those expectations.
Well, and when you say please don't let that happen, do you mean please don't let Brandon Miller perform to a level where we have no clue what to do? So I'm
speaking to God. Please do not let that happen. I'm not speaking to Brandon or the coaching staff, or I'm speaking to the basketball gods, to every religion's god. I'm speaking to all of them. I want counsel with everyone to please end our suffering. I will take a deal. I'll take a max deal from any god to make this suffering stop.
Because I'm still a little confused because you think Jabari isn't good and you don't want, like, or is it just I'm still confused. You're asking. I actually don't know what you mean here.
I want him not to be Jabari. I want him to live up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was kind of a weird moment, but I didn't know if you were saying.
I want him to be very, very, very good where there's just no question. Similar to LaMelo, even with the ankle injuries, he was so elite. He had such elite skills that, like, when we got to those negotiations, you and I never had, the only conversation we had around that contract was maybe build something Zion-esque in there to make sure that if he does blow his ankles that you can get out of it. And guess what? They decided not to do that. They really were just like, hey, we're going to make sure that we get this deal done and not fool around with it. That's how important they felt LaMelo Ball was to the future. And I hope that we get to the point where they feel the same way about Brandon Miller. But you can definitely see some avenues where that doesn't happen.
You could really see the confusion in my head. I was really trying to figure that out. That wasn't good potting. I apologize to everybody listening / watching, but I really needed to make that clear in order to know where to go next.
It's early September. We're doing
that word. That it's fine. Maybe we finish up some of that conversation with Tijan Salan and Con Knipple, and Doug has a trade idea coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
It's a good one.
Bees everywhere!
Lord knows what it's going to be. I'm speaking to God, saying, help me with this Doug trade idea. We figure out if he does help me coming up next, LOH. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We appreciate them as always, and NFL season, it's here. FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. And it's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app today by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Okay, we had the Brandon Miller conversation. Tijan Salan, this is a harder back and forth to have because it's just one season with Tijan. Don't know how he's going to look going into the second year. Con Knipple hadn't even played a game, but you get the idea. The Tijan, how do you feel about these contract conversations and how you expect them to play out? Maybe 10 times, 100 times? Like, do you feel more good than bad? Is it vice versa? Because I got to tell you, like, I feel like that right now is headed towards a really complicated matter. And I'm almost hoping for complicated, Doug, because that means Tijan Salan is doing something for me to think about paying him a lot of money.
No, it's up to Tijan Salan to make it interesting at this point. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that because he's making, because he's a high pick, because he was 6, like you can take the swing, that's fine. But when you take it at 6, because of the way the rookie scale works, that's going to be a significant percentage, not the most significant, but I think he's making like $6 or $7 million. Like it's a significant chunk of change when you're talking about percentage of your cap. So they will have to make a call, but I think it's just as likely he gets wrapped up into some, trade situation where some other team, they can convince another team to take on that money and take on that risk of Tijan Salan flaming out, and they package it together with a couple of first-round picks in the summer before they ever even get to those conversations. I think that's just as likely as them actually getting to the table and doing a deal, because that, to me, would require, again, him showing some significant development and him having a desire. Like, hey, I like Coach Lee. I like what we're doing here. I like the development that I'm under. I like my role. And, but those so often go in a different direction. So I'm just open to anything happening there with Tijan.
Yeah, it's probably too early to have that conversation. And last thing, to put a bow on the Brandon Miller point, I don't think Jabari Smith happens where we have to settle for 5 years, 122. I think he ends up this year, as long as he stays healthy. That's always the issue, but he stayed healthy his first year. Anytime he was injured, he would come back. As long as he's healthy, I think he's going to perform to a level where you just pretty easily decide, here's a lot of money. Maybe there's some quibbling back and forth, but overall, I feel like it'll be a pretty comfortable decision on, we want him to be here long term, and we're going to try to make that happen and exercise every avenue possible.
I hope it's definitive one way or the other. I hope you and I are having a conversation when it comes to these negotiations and we're going, it's pretty clear what they have to do in either direction. Either they've got to play hardball and make sure they get a fair deal because he's not a max level player, and I just hope you and I aren't arguing about it, honestly. It would make for better potting, but just for the health of the team, because the danger is you look around and LaMelo misses a bunch more games and you're like, well, that's a huge question mark on the future. Now we just gotta anchor ourselves to Brandon Miller, whatever Brandon Miller is. We just gotta ride it out and give him the money, and that's a dangerous place to be. Then you end up like the Chicago Bulls, just sort of No one knows where you're at. You're in the middle of the ocean. That kind of thing. So yeah, I just hope it's definitive. By the way, while we're talking about other people's money, because we spent really the entire show so far doing that, I don't know if you read this. Rod Boone went out to for the Charlotte Observer, beat writer for the Charlotte Observer, went out to a Charlotte Knights game where all of the Hornets rookies, and there are a lot of them, they drafted enough players to field a baseball team, 4 of them. So he got to interview all of them, and except for Liam McNeely, strangely, he asked the other 3 what they were going to do with their new contract money. What's the first thing you're going to buy? And I thought all of them had an interesting answer. Would you like to hear their answers?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
All right, so Ryan Kalkbrenner, when asked about it, he said, now that you have your first pro contract, what have you purchased or planned to buy that you've been eager to get? And Ryan Kalkbrenner said, I've got a baby on the way. They're expensive enough as it is. I've got to spend all my money on her. Right answer.
Yeah, smart decision. He also had a smart Love Island answer, I think. Every answer Ryan Kalkbrenner gives is calculated, if you will. Everything he does is calculated.
All right, so let's move down to Con Knipple. This was great. He asked him, I think he asked him, like, what have you purchased? Liam mentioned Legos. They had a Legos conversation.
I was going to guess
Do you have a target in mind, a nice car or something? Rod Boone just getting right in there. He wants to know what you're buying. He wants to know what kind of car you're buying and if he can get a ride to work.
What are you spending before taxes?
I think Rod's in the market for a car, and he just is figuring out what other people are doing.
And can you hook me up?
Here's Con Knipple's answer. I just got my Ford Explorer that I have. Yeah, I don't know. I have to think about it.
Totally Con, man. I don't like this is why do I know these rookies so well after hearing from them so many times? I knew Liam McNeely was going to tell me about Legos. Ryan Kalkbrenner, that matches with other answers that he's given us. And same thing with Con. It's a Ford Explorer. I would picture nothing less like that or nothing else. That's exactly what I picture him driving.
All right, last one. Sion James, the last of the Hornets picks, was a second-round pick, still a higher second-round pick, not a deep second-round pick. And
Kalkbrenner was the last, by the way, just to be clear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was Sion.
Right.
Yep, Sion then Kalk.
And you know why I thought it was Sion last, because I wanted Kalkbrenner in the McNeely spot. Like I was why are you waiting on Kalkbrenner? That didn't feel very calculated to me. I wanted them to just go ahead. I didn't want them to be calculated. I wanted them to just get Kalkbrenner. Sion James, second round pick. Here's his answer. What are you looking forward to purchasing most? And he said, yeah, all the stuff I really want to get is going to have to wait for another deal.
Yeah, I like that. See, now that's an answer. I like that one.
It's a looking forward answer.
Yeah.
It's an assuming answer that he's going to get another deal. I like that. I love the confidence. You want these guys to have confidence.
Right.
But then it's also like, it reminds me of the guy, and I don't remember his name. I don't remember the actor's name, but he played Abed in Community. He was being interviewed by Larry King, and Larry King was, I can't remember the context of the question that he asked him, but it was money related. And the actor said, listen, I'm a voice actor on DuckTales. Like, I'm not a multi-millionaire.
Yeah. I got drafted in the second round, man. Like I got money. I don't want to get it twisted, but I'm going to need another contract before I really answer your question. You want to give us your trade idea?
Let's do it in the third segment. We're up against time. I don't know if we're going to get to this number 3. I'm just going to tell you right now who wore it best. It's not looking good.
I don't have any words.
I don't control time. You want me to control time? I don't have. This is not some like Zelda game where I can just like slow down time while a giant scary moon stares at me. That's not what this is. Okay.
Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
We have to listen to Doug's trade idea. Not in segment 2, but we got to do it in segment 3. It's coming up next. LOH. I saw a comment in the Sicko sewer that said Walker is about to have a mini crash out over this who wore it best number 3, and never have I seen a comment more right. I'm about to have Except mini. Mini might have been the wrong
Mini
word to use
stroke.
there.
You're going to have a mini stroke.
Or
Everyone
just
watch the left
that's
side
out.
of Walker's face. If it starts to droop, let me know in the comments and we'll do number 3.
Fine. All right, let's hear it. What's your trade idea, Doug?
All right, so this trade idea didn't come out of nowhere. I was perusing for content ideas, and I stumbled upon Real GM Wiretap, and this is Wiretap. It's a website that has news and notes from around the league. Not a lot going on right now in the league, but as I mentioned in the first segment, there are some teams that are still trying to get some negotiations done, including the Philadelphia 76ers, who have yet to re-sign Quentin Grimes. But they want to. The problem is for the Philadelphia 76ers that they're up against those aprons that I talked about. So they could, according to Real GM Wiretap, actually this is according to Jake Fisher, Bleacher Report. We're going fishing, baby. I got a big one.
Oh, nice.
They could move Kelly Oubre, familiar name,
Oh, God.
and another familiar name to Hornets trade conversations, one Andre Drummond. Kelly Oubre, Andre Drummond. Drummond's set to make $5 million, and then it's an expiring contract. Oubre, also an expiring deal, with the contract being worth $8.4 million. But remember, you've got to save, the Philadelphia 76ers need to save about $1.5 million bucks. So you've got to come in at $1.5 million under that salary number, $8.4 million plus $5 million. You've got to combine some salaries and ship off 2 players. Well, guess what? The Hornets could do that. All they have to do is send Pat Connaughton and his expiring $9.4 million deal. That might get it done right there and save them even more money. I haven't run this through the trade thing, but then you could just throw in a $2 million. You could throw in Spencer Dinwiddie at $2 million and just call it a deal. And then you bring back Andre Drummond, who just eats boards. He's not doing a lot of other things. He's only playing 40 games, so he's not even going to get in the way too much of your Moussa Diabate love. He's just going to eat boards, something that Mason Plumlee's not going to do, something that a lot of these players are going to struggle with. So you get Andre Drummond. You bring back Kelly Oubre Jr., who was just a wonderful life force to this team when he was playing for them. He'd have to do a little damage control after what he said when he went to Philadelphia. But
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Beyond that, he was Tsunami Poppy, baby. You get Tsunami Poppy back. And here's the thing. You don't just do it 2 for 2. You're helping them out. So you got to get a top 5, top 3 protected first round pick out of the deal. Come on. What are we talking about? Let's do it, Philadelphia.
What's great is that Kelly Oubre did seem to turn into Tsunami Father permanently up in Philadelphia. He kind of had to because they were just terribly injured. Kelly had 52 starts with Philadelphia his first year and 57 starts with Philadelphia the second year. I don't think that was in the plans, certainly not this past year from what I remember. Yet they had to call on him because of Paul George's injury, and you get the whole idea up there what's going on with the 76ers. I can tell you, I will delight in watching Kelly Oubre only give us 1 assist per game and also shoot a decent amount of threes and only make 30% of them. But again, Tsunami Father, like attacking the rim a lot more, 47 overall. We saw a little bit of that turn up here in Charlotte, and it kept going that direction up in Philadelphia.
Last time the Hornets won 40-plus games, it was under Borrego. And they did it really on an incredible season from Miles Bridges, good season from LaMelo, really good season from Kelly too. And it was an offensive-powered season. Mm-hmm. And that's what this team's already built around offense. They are going to have to overachieve defensively if they want to, pile some wins up. So you're just leaning into that, bringing back Kelly Oubre and hoping that he has just a banger contract year, looking for maybe 1 final deal or maybe 2 final deals to go out on. But he's going to be on a contract year, so he's going to play his bleep off. Andre Drummond's just going to be happy to be there. Again, you just send him out there to gobble up boards and just be a big presence, which they don't even have a lot of. They don't have a lot of size when you take into account. I mean, they've got Kalkbrenner, but that just allows him to slowly, skill up and maybe learn a thing or two from Andre Drummond along the way. Veteran presence, that could be good for Kalkbrenner. I'm telling you, if you get a first-round pick out of this to me is just a no-brainer. This is exactly the kind of deal that you want to go out for and give the Sixers a life preserver in terms of $1.3 million so that they can sign Quentin Grimes, and then Paul George gets injured again, and then Joel Embiid gets injured again, and they end up with a 6th pick, except you end up with a 6th pick now.
So what are you sending out again? Like I heard Kelly, Andre Drummond,
Connaughton, and Spencer Dinwiddie.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I'm in. I'm in. There you go. Nice trade idea. All right.
What if you have to send out Tijon Salon? What if that's the... Well, that I don't think that would even work contractually. That wouldn't save them any money. So forget that. They can't even do that.
Yeah. I don't think they can either. Okay. So I imagine that's the end of the show, and we're not going to have.
So you're doing
time.
the deal? You're doing the deal?
Kelly Oubre, Andre Drummond, and a first, with the first being valuable. And I do want first from Philly. Like I know
you
that
have
they
to. You can't bring back
Spencer and Pat Connaughton. Yeah, I mean that's a no-brainer. The only thing that you'd be wary of is Kelly coming in and being like, how much do you want him to be a part of your team? Does he fit what you want to do all that well? But the first round pick is going to be so valuable. Like I'm sure it's going to be out. I don't know how many years from now. Yeah,
I mean, he's not a point guard. I mean, at least Kelly Oubre is not a point. Neither of these players are point guards.
They're not. Yeah,
you're
Kelly is a
sending two
forward.
point guards away, and you're bringing back 2 players that are not point guards. I think that's in terms of just making rosters fit. That's a positive.
Yeah, so Brandon Miller, injury insurance. Now you have a 3 that you can go to.
There we go.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
that's how you make it work.
I don't often come up with good trade ideas, but I saw this come around the old wiretap, and I thought, oh boy, this feels like just the kind of thing that old Jeff Peterson could cook up. Chef Jeff.
Oh man, and then we'll see what number he would wear. He wore 12 the last time he was here. I don't think we had Kelly Oubre wearing number 12 the best, but who knows? Maybe he.
Oh no! If you want to vamp a little bit, I can definitely look that up. He definitely did not win.
No, there's no way that he would wear. There's no way. So I don't know what he would wear because, interestingly enough, he's actually only worn the number 12 as far as I can tell. I think.
Oh, that was Vladi Dottie.
Oh no,
Vladi
he wore 9 and 3.
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize.
Vladi Dottie won for 12. Kelly Oubre did wear the number 12. You know who also wore the number 12, and this is a good thing to end on, was Dwight Howard in 2018. Shout out Dwight Howard, now a Hall of Fame Hornet.
Yeah, one of the more interesting players to debate here in Charlotte because he did give us some good numbers, but
30-30.
He had a 30-30 game. At the same time, I don't know how conducive he was to winning around here. And Dwight Howard.
What has been, to be fair, what has been?
No doubt. He was, I think he was the last, or his play in Charlotte, that was the last year of Dwight actually showcasing himself as a premier talent. And because you could argue his role was better with the Lakers when they won the championship as just this rim runner, shot blocker. But in terms of dumping it down to the post and seeing what he can do, him in Charlotte, that was the last time that he showcased any of that. And that year, the Hornets went 36-46, and also didn't seem to get along with Nick Batum. I think there was there's some rumors out there. Kemba Walker wasn't the biggest Dwight Howard fan, but this is the Dwight Howard experience. Hey, I will say, if Kemba doesn't like you, then I'm going to have to side with him. I'd be foolish to side with anybody else, and it is Dwight Howard. So, anyways.
So he made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 straight All-Star games between 2006 and 2013-14. And his points per game average with Charlotte in 27-18, 16.6, was the highest that he had during that non-All-Star final stretch of his career. And then he would average 12.8 with Washington. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it was a weird statistical flash in the pan for Dwight Howard. Perfect opportunity reuniting with Steve Clifford. And he got the 30-30, which is, I don't think a lot of players have done that in NBA history.
Yeah. It was weird season. One of the weirder seasons there are. But by the way, deserved to be in the Hall of Fame, no question about it, with what he was able to accomplish before then. Okay, that'll do it for Locked On Hornets. We don't get to it. Shocker. Doug Branson, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Also, make sure you check out. Yeah, no, 100%. It's going to happen.
You got to do 2 of them because David Walker's coming on, I promise you we're going to do 2 of them because David Walker's on, and I don't want him to do number 3. I want him to do number 2 because he can actually give us some insight about who's going to win that because he watched him play, and I don't think either of us did. So we have to do number 2 with him. We might skip number 3 and do number 2. How about that?
No, I believe you. I fully expect to do both jersey numbers next time. I don't know why I wouldn't believe you at this point. It's Doug Branson, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Also a producer for Yahoo Sports Daily. Go check it out. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me, WFNZ, every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.